Welcome to Logan from CAIN. It is so cool to finally actually get to see you face to face and say,
Yes.
hey, what's going on? So, Logan, for anybody that doesn't know you, would you tell me everything about your life in, I think, 30 seconds? Go.
Go. Okay. I was born a baby. And no, that's my favorite. So my parents are pastors, fun little segue. And that always used to tickle me when somebody would tell their testimony and they would start with how their parents met. It's like, oh, no.
Too far. We've gone too far.
Just come to where you're alive at least.
Come back a little faster. Yeah.
Okay. So, the most special things about me are unfortunately not here today. My two sisters, my mom and dad, my wife, my brothers-in-law, like my family is the reason that I am who I am. I think that I just got to go home for Mother's Day and it's just such a pleasant reminder that like, I hope someday that I get to do a family conference and I get to just like let everybody see what dear old mom and dad is like. But yeah, I think that when you think of CAIN or CAIN the band, I hope that you think of us as a family unit. I hope you think the three of us as one voice, because if you were to pull all the music back, the three of us singing together, I think is the thing that sounds like us and makes us special. And I couldn't do it by myself. I never would. It's funny, I'm sitting here doing an interview by myself, but I just think that, this interview would be much better if they were here.
No, I totally get that. The cool thing about the sound that you guys produce is I really do think that there is something to be said for the harmony of a family, especially siblings, man. There is something tight about that. It's not even just the vocals. It's the fact that you kind of know they've got you in thick or thin, that you know that person's going to be there. And so knowing that you're not just part of a family, but it's also part of a band and you guys are traveling together and stuff like that. Who's your favorite?
Oh, yes, of course. Well, that's an easy answer. It's Madison. And this is how I describe our dynamic, because we were abnormally close. Like, I didn't even understand how close we were. Like when I first got married, and we were newly married, and my wife asked me about I think it was dinner plans. I can't remember exact specifics. And I just said, well, let me check with the girls. And she said, why? And I was like, I don't know. I just always have. So let me, I guess I don't have to. I just always have. And so that is we just have been really weirdly close. But my relationship with Madison is very steady, she's the middle, she's even keel. And then Taylor and I are most likely to get in a fist fight, but also most likely to have a secret handshake. So it's like just like to the moon. So, but yeah, just weirdly close. Yeah. And that's probably not as fun for people. Well, yeah.
It's so weird. I really don't. I mean, I'm super close to my brother and sister. And the weirdest thing about that is they live on, like, for a long time, like different continents. For a very long time. My sister has lived in England for a very long time. And for a long time, my brother was in South Africa. And then he was in Russia for a while. And yet there was something always that felt like if I wasn't talking to them all the time, part of me is missing. And I think that's what you guys have. So in terms of being super close and being on the road, and also kind of a business, because it is, I mean, for all that you guys
100%.
do. So what are the strengths there? And what are the things that you go, man, that gives us some pause right there. So what are the strengths? And then what are the things that you go, we need to work on that?
Yes. Okay. So strengths, we shared one bedroom until we were 8, 9, and 10. We're just right in a row, stair steps. We lived together all through high school. We lived together in college. And then when we moved to Nashville, we lived together until each of us started to get married. Right. So being on the road and being on a bus, that feels like home to me. That feels like, all right, we're locked in. We're working, we're moving. I think the thing that gives us pause, and again, I feel like every answer feels so kind of lame and canned, but it's true. We care so much about the other's opinion of each other. And so the struggle sometimes come in the studio in a pressure situation where I want them to think I did a good job. Then I inherently start to become defensive. I start to get weird. But ultimately, like, all of our fighting and bickering, at least we've been able to expedite it because we're not going anywhere. It's like, we're not a traditional band or whatever, where it's just like, you know what, like we're going down in blaze of glory. It's like, well then forget you guys, I'm leaving. It's like, see you at Christmas. Like, no, can't quit. So
tell mom I said hi.
Right. It's like, there's no quitting the family band. And so it's like, we'll fuss. And it's like, well, okay, well, the goal is reconciliation. So let's just get to that part.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I would say, who's the prankster?
Oh, I think we all hate being pranked so much that we've learned. It's like, probably me, I guess. Like, if it's one of those, that's one of those questions was like, if something doesn't come to mind, it's you.
Yeah.
But I learned pretty early on that it's like, what I think is funny, they don't think is funny. And so sometimes I'll just
feed it. Let's get an instant.
Obviously, like when we were kids, it was all very physical based humor. Like, it's just, I love kind of slapsticky Three Stooges. Right. So it's just like, how funny would it be if they like fell? And it's like, they don't like that. You know, it's like, that's not funny if they like fall and get muddy or whatever. So it's like, after about age 12, you're like, you just have this thought in your head of like, what if I just like tripped that person? And then you just stop that thought. You take every thought captive. Right. You don't trip your adult sister who's in your bed.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Not so pranky.
Have you ever, dug a pretty decent hole in the backyard and then covered it in saran wrap and like a little bit of like leaves and grass, and then tricked like your sister into chasing you and just bypass it a little bit so she would fall in that hole?
That feels really specific. Did that happen to you?
Anyway, so outside of the pranks,
is your brother Wiley the Coyote? What is going on?
By the way, it totally worked. And I got in so much trouble for that.
Oh no, you didn't.
Yeah, she brings it up at like family gatherings, kind of shows people the scar, and
now she's still on crutches, I'm sure.
She got better. I'm just saying, right. Debbie, you're fine. Like, get over it.
You're fine, Debbie.
Yeah.
My ankle hurts when it's gonna rain. I'm like, well, let's get over it.
Yeah. So, being from a family of three, I know that a lot of times it would be 2 against 1. You know what I mean? It would just happen. So out of the 3 of you, who usually does band together?
Oh, okay. So this is our system. Is now, if anybody disagrees,
right,
we immediately turn to the third, and you have to make a snap judgment. You're the swing vote. So we don't do a long deliberating process, but we don't leave much time for people to buddy up. This isn't Survivor. I don't want you sneaking off. Don't y'all go to the ladies' room and talk. So it's just like, well, I feel like this. Well, I disagree. Turn. And we just, okay, you have to vote. And then It's usually Madison. It's usually Taylor and I disagree, and it's Madison that has to. Right. And Madison is quite considerate in the way that she speaks. And so she's a very good communicator, and she'll say, okay, I can see where he's coming from. I can see, it sounds like she's saying, so Madison does the counseling for us. But
well, I think for me, my biggest question right now is, why am I not talking to Madison? So
yeah, I understand that. That's most people's question.
I actually get a very real feeling you and I would be the two going, I totally get.
Yeah, you dug a Burmese tiger pit for your sister. I think
that was too deep. I was only like 9. So, I mean, again, when you're 9 years old, what you think is a huge, deep hole. It wasn't. Even my dad was like, this was the whole. I mean, he was both upset with me. He was like, what? And there was another part of him that goes, listen, if you really want to do this right, you want to do it.
Get the hose over here and soften it. What kind of prankster are you?
So, in terms of you guys' ministry, I can go back to the first time I heard Rise Up, the Lazarus song. And it starts off and it's got this wonderful kind of swing, but I got to tell you, that chorus, it moves me. Like, to this day, it still moves me. And I know you guys have a brand new song. And so for me, what is it inside of your ministry that moves you? What are the things that truly move you as a person, as a musician, as a husband? Just what is it that moves you, Logan? What are the things that truly move your heart into some place different, better, higher?
Yeah, I could probably sum it all up in the word honesty. I feel like the biggest part of my testimony, the biggest part of ministry in my life is when I'm being honest with myself and I'm being honest with other people. When it says like the truth will set you free, I've always just assumed that was like, okay, God's truth will provide freedom. And it's like, no, your honesty is going to make freedom for others around you. Your honesty is going to make freedom for yourself. And so that's it. Like when I'm on stage singing and I turn and I look at Taylor and I realize like, she is real. This is real to her. This is real to Madison. And this is real to everybody here. And it pulls me into that, like, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Culture has stolen phrases from us, like live in the moment and stay in the now. But that's so true about our walk with the Lord, is that like, there's so much safety in now. And there's so much truth that God wants to impart to us every single second. And if I get caught thinking about like, oh, I really want to sing the second verse well, instead of just being right there in that chorus. So just being honest with myself and good and bad, just being honest, like just letting yourself say like, I don't feel what I'm walking through right now. I'm not feeling it. Yeah. Even that honesty, there's freedom in unlock. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we block our heart because we're so afraid that we're not allowed to feel how we feel. And I think that if you'll let yourself feel how you feel, then you can be honest about getting over it. Because if I say like, I don't feel God's presence, then I have a choice to say, but still I know he's good. You know, you can be honest. Yeah. Otherwise you're just trying to paper over it. Oh God, I know you're good, even though I don't feel it. Right. It's like, no, just sit in that. Just sit in that discomfort and be honest and then make a decision.
Yeah, I love that. I think as believers, it's one of those things where it's really challenging sometimes to explain to people that the honesty comes from a place of admitting that sometimes you don't feel it, that sometimes you can be really, really sad and still have joy in God and his love, that you can both be depressed and a believer at the same time, or that you not really feel like, I'm not feeling him right now, but to still trust that he's still there whether you feel him or not.
Totally.
I like the honesty quite a bit, and I think that is a wonderful, refreshing kind of answer. So thank you. That is very cool.
Thank you.
If you're going to dig a hole for any of your siblings, just really make sure that it's deeper. You know what I'm saying? If you want to.
Otherwise, you're just wasting saran wrap, right? We get it.
Exactly. I appreciate you, Logan. Thank you so much for some time.
Fine. Thank you.
Appreciate you, and keep cranking out the songs, because seriously, love them.
Hey, and cheers to you guys. Like, thank you for taking a chance on somebody that's a little left of center, perhaps. And
I'll take it.
I mean, every time, like, so we get our radio reports on Monday, and I remember last year when you guys added the song.
Yeah.
And what a difference it's made. So to KLTY, to you personally, like, if you're worried ever for a second about whether or not you're changing lives, you've changed 3 right here in ours, and we can't thank you enough.
Oh, it's a pleasure. The first time I heard your song, I went and found you guys on Twitter. I found you guys, I think your Facebook page, and I was like, these guys right here, this song. And I love the new song about you can't, I just want to say, you're not left of center. You guys are speaking a message, and it's a sound that I'm going, yes. Like the sound, it's in your face, it's passionate, it's joyful, and it's very, very real. And I know this is a lot, but seriously, love you with this song. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I will play them, and so much so that we got in a little bit of trouble. True story. So my former, her name is Gail, and Gail Lightfoot did traffic with us, and she would be in the newsroom, and I'm in the main room. And every time we got to play the Lazarus song, I would turn it up a lot. So much so that one of our sister stations was recording stuff and came down the hall and just was like, "What are you doing?" And we're both looking at each other through the mirror going, "Rise up, da, da, da." And it's so loud. Walls are shaking. And so I'm not supposed to do that anymore. But I often do that with too many songs. And it was your song. And it's so love you guys. Keep putting out songs. Make me get in trouble.
Deal.
Thank you so much for a little time with our listeners and KLTY, and especially with me. And appreciate you, Logan from CAIN. Talk to you soon.
See you now.
Bye.